How much has it cost me to run my 2010 Mk6 GTI? Hi and welcome back to Joe Talks Cars and welcome to another video. Welcome back to my Golf GTI. It's been a long while since I featured this car on the channel and it seems a bit of a shame because since starting my channel some of the biggest views I've had on it are all about this little Mk6 GTI. And in today's video I wanted to talk about how much it's cost to run since buying the car until the present day. I think a lot of you will be surprised at the total price of running one of these amazing cars, and I really thought it would be an interesting video, so I've come out here today. It's freezing cold, but we're going to talk about my Golf GTI. So anyway, without any further ado, I want to jump in, take it for a drive, and tell you exactly how much I've spent on this car since 2018. Oh, it's absolutely freezing out there today. I did plan on making some more content outside, but honestly, I'm not dressed for this weather, so inside the car it will be. So a little bit of a backstory. So I bought this car in 2018, so I've had it 5 years. I bought the car with around 39,000 miles on it. And since that time, I've now got 83,000. I've done quite a lot of miles in this car, and I've loved every single one of them. So I paid £11,500 for this car back in 2018, which was a fair price at the time. Quite low miles, 39,000, and just a really nice, well looked after car. It's not a very heavily optioned car, but it had got full main dealer servicing. Throughout the year, this car has never ceased to amaze me. The thing is with this car, it's still a 2-litre turbo. It's still technically a sports car. It should be fairly expensive to run. What I've found is very surprising. So not only has this car never let me down, nothing's ever broken, it's never broken down, it's never failed to start, and it's wanted very little in the way of repairs. The only repair I sort of have made to the car was fitting the upgraded tensioner. Now this was just for some peace of mind. The car was only sat at around 40,000 miles at the time, and I heard so many horror stories about how if the tensioner fails, that's it, game over, new engine. I wasn't prepared to take that risk, so we upgraded the tensioner. But at the same time, with it being quite a major job to change that tensioner over, had a full service, that was around 500 quid if I remember rightly. So overall, not a very expensive bill. Other than that, the only things to go wrong on the car is it's got an inlet manifold fault. So this is very common on GTIs. It's very common on a lot of VW products with this engine, as far as I'm aware, from this year. It's an extremely expensive job to change the inlet manifold. You're looking at probably 1,000 quid for parts and labour, a lot of money. And the only side effect to not replacing it is my engine management light is on. It's been on for 4 years. I know people are going to shout at me in the comments, that's not looking after your car very well. It is on my to-do list of things to repair, but at the moment, I mean, it's lasted 4 years, I still haven't done it, so who knows when that'll be, but I do plan on fixing it because the light is annoying and yeah, I don't like engine management lights on cars. The only other things that I've really had to do to this car is put it through its MOT. In the UK, you need your MOT every single year, so 5 of them adds up to around £180. I've had to obviously have annual services. I've done one of the services, which saved a little bit of money and just meant it was just some oil and some spark plugs and things like that. But other than that, I've been going to a German car specialist, local garage to me, and he services it and looks after the car. So over its lifetime, it's had just around £1,000 worth of services. In terms of repairs, we've spoken about the tensioner, that kind of gets wrapped up into a service anyway. It has had some new brakes and some tyres and bits and pieces, but again, nothing much. It's had probably 2 sets of tyres now. It's had 1 set of brakes, and that equals around £800 for the tyres and the brakes over the 5 years. With these wheels being the 17 inches, they are quite small, and the tyres are very cheap. I go with Bridgestone Potenzas, and they give incredible grip, and also all weather conditions, they're pretty good. and they've got really good wear on them. I get miles out of these. Insurance is quite cheap. It actually costs a little bit more. I think it's finally just dropped, but it's a little bit more than what I pay for my Porsche. It's around £300 a year. So over the 5 years, that's 1,500 quid for that. And road tax. Road tax is quite expensive on this. It's not the highest tax bracket like the Porsche, but it's the second one down. So £230 per year. Times that by 5, just over £1,000. Other than that, I've not had to spend anything else on the car. So this figure I'm about to give you is the total running costs of this car, including servicing, insurance, road tax, and everything excluding fuel for a Golf GTI Mk6. And it's cost me a whopping £4,630 for 5 years of running this 2-litre turbo hot hatch. That is absolutely insane how cheap that is. I don't think there's many cars out there that will cost less than that, really, if I'm honest. Obviously, you do pay a little bit more in fuel with one of these. You're averaging around 38 if you're really lucky. Realistically, you're low to mid-30s, driven properly, and the car does encourage you to drive it a little bit hard. It's a sporty little thing, and I absolutely adore it. The other thing about the GTI is, like I touched on at the start, is they hold their value really nicely. And these cars will never be sort of scrap value. If you service them every year, look after them, keep them nice, they're always going to hold some decent money in them. Now, I've had a quick look on Auto Trader before I came out to do this video, and I've found something quite surprising. So a car pretty much identical to this, there's numerous ones on there, similar spec, the leather seats, you know, not heavily optioned cars, similar mileage, 90,000, 100,000 miles. You're looking about £8,500 on the used car market for one of these, which is quite a lot of money still. So they've held incredibly well. And when you think I only paid just over 11 for it, it's lost very, very little in that 5 years. So when people often talk about running costs of cars, they often add in depreciation. They talk about the depreciation because it's part of running a car. You buy a car for an amount of money, you spend a certain amount of money keeping it going, and when you sell it, you lose an amount of money. Add all that together, and that is essentially how much the car has cost you over your ownership. So I've owned this car for 5 years, and we've already spoken about how much it's cost me to run it, just in parts and servicing and everything else that goes with it. But even if you factor in that depreciation, which is quite small compared with many, many other cars out on the road, it only works out at £7,700. So that is insane. So that's the amount of money I could sell this car for, minus off what I paid for it, and then add in all the running costs to go with it. And the total is £7,700. Divide that by 5, and that's 1,500 quid a year. £1,500 a year, including depreciation, to run a Golf GTI Mk6. That's mental how cheap that is. Like, honestly, it's the bargain of the century. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. There's plenty more videos on this car coming, but if you want to see some more content on it from previous videos that I've done, click this link here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.